Hey everyone, I'm Paul, and I'm about to go on an artistic journey of making a leather bag. Now, I've never made a leather bag before, and I've only dabbled in leather as far as leather products. I've made a few wallets with some basic sewing, I've made some keychains, I've made book covers, but those don't require a crazy amount of skill. It's basically cutting the leather, folding it to size, thinning it out in certain parts so it folds properly. Here's an example of just a simple leather book that I've made in the past. This is watercolor paper. I've made a few others that open up the long way for writing, but otherwise, pretty basic. So the bag I'm going to recreate is a bag that's pretty popular in the art world. It's known as a Swiss Army medic bag, and you've probably seen them. They go for a few $100s online when you can find them. I've had mine for about 3 years. I think I spent about $145 on it when I bought it. This is the bag. Folds up. It was designed to hang off the side of a horse for the medic to work. Pockets on the inside, some gussets so things don't fall off. Really smooth leather interior. A little more spots for tools here on the inside. I have brushes there and a pencil. Here's a little closer look of the bag. You can see it on the back. There's some basic hardware, a flap, and then it's all closed with button snaps. So pretty basic bag. So I decided to torture myself and decide to recreate this. And I just want to try it. I want to up some skills. There are a few things I'm going to have to learn for this, and I'll get a little more detailed in a minute, but to show you exactly what I'm talking about. First off, see how this flap opens and closes? That's something I've never done in leather, to make a flap. I've made permanent bends, but I've never done something I'm going to call a floppy fold moving forward. Floppy or a flappy fold. So now you know what I'm referring to. The other thing is I need to do sewing that's 90-degree angled sewing. So that's a new skill. You can see how it's sewn. I see the process, but I've never done that. So for this piece, there are basically 2 pieces of leather. Well, 4 pieces of leather, the 2 gussets, the whole main piece, and then the pocket. So first step was measuring out the leather. I took measurements on the bag itself, and now I'm going to transfer those measurements to a pattern. So this is basically as far as I've gotten so far because I can't go outside and dye the leather right now because it's really cold. Here are the basic patterns. This is that inner pocket fold that I just showed you, which when it's folded will become the pocket. And then the other part of it is the full leather piece right here. So as you can see, this is basically the same style as the bag I just showed you. So imagine this is the bag. Here it is folding out. And obviously there's no gussets yet. Those will come closer to when it's over. So 2 skills I need to learn for this, like I said, are the folds and the sewing. So I've been practicing a little. First thing is I have to try that 90-degree sewing technique. Now, pretty basic. It's not so bad, not as bad as I thought. You may see a little blood stains because I may have poked some fingers with nails, with sewing needles as I was doing it. But the process isn't too bad. I think I can handle it. It's going to be a process of operations. The next step was the folds. And as I mentioned to you, if you take leather and you wet it and fold it, you can make a permanent fold. Like that's what this is. And unfortunately, I only need that in one spot on this bag, which is the main fold where the pockets are. Other than that, I need a fold that is floppy or flappy. So I've been testing it with this. So in this case, I am going to use a Dremel to do these folds. And I finally got one that is going to work pretty well. I'm sure when the bags were being made in the 60s and the 70s, there was a machine in a leather factory that has a die stamp, and it was stamping it out, and it was pre-making all the holes for the button snaps and everything else. And then there was some machine that was probably causing the grooves. Because if you look at that bag, they may have done by hand, but it's basically a V-groove that allows the leather to fold. So after all those measurements, I transferred them to the leather. So this is one leather piece folded out, and I've got some markings on it for the bag, so I know where the folds are going to go. I am going to dye this first, and the reason for dyeing it is if I make the grooves first and then you dye the leather, you might get some darker spots at the lines where the folds are, because obviously the dye is going to seep into the leather in thinner spots and cause a line. I want to try to avoid that. I'm okay with it because it will add some character to the bag, but I am going to dye this leather. I'm going to coat it and treat it first with just an Atom wax. I'm not going to put a beeswax on it till I'm done. But I'm also going to smooth down the interior. Right now, the inside is very rough. much as if you got a raw leather piece. I'm going to smooth it with some Tokonol and a glass burnisher, and that will hopefully give me the look I want. If not, I'm learning as I do this, so we'll experience it together. The other pieces that I have roughly cut out are the pocket, and these are the straps for the back that where the shoulder straps get attached to. And I also have the flap in the beginning, which eventually will have a hole in it so it can close the bag. So I'll be going through this process over the next few days and weeks. Right now, as I mentioned earlier, it is a little cold out to do the dyeing, so once I get that process done, I'll do updates. You can follow me on social media. I can't guarantee there's going to be a video every week. I can't guarantee there'll be a big update every week. As many of you artists know, sometimes you just do and it happens. So there might be a random live. There might just be a photo update. Not really sure, but hopefully you'll join me for the journey. I look forward to comments. And I haven't really seen anyone build this bag online other than the templates from Etsy or the writer's bags I've seen online through a writing company that makes a similar style looking bag. I'm going to try to replicate this bag completely. We'll see what happens. I may screw it up. It may be a waste of time, but I'm going to try. And again, hopefully you'll join me for the journey. Comment, suggestions. Again, I don't do traditional leather work. I do it as I want to do it and I make it work, and we'll see what happens. So thanks for joining me, and hopefully this will be an interesting ride.